Pastor Sheryl Brady, good to have you on live today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, when you're not pastoring at the Potter's House North, you're writing books.
Well, you know, by the grace of God. Anybody that's written a book, we understand it. It's just by the grace of God.
I do.
Yeah.
They don't write themselves.
No, I'm telling you, they don't. They really don't.
I wish they would.
Yes.
It's like I can lay in bed and think about it, but
Yes.
then I have to actually get up and spend all day writing it.
Yes, to get it on paper is a different story.
It
I have a
is.
whole new respect for authors.
Well, good for
Yeah.
you. So, what's the message in Don't Miss the Moment?
You know, it's pretty much just what it says. It's really dealing with how moments are such a gift from God, but so many times we undervalue them and we underestimate them, and they're small enough to be missed, but they're large enough to change our lives forever. And I think Jesus was, if you read the scripture, there's so many times that Jesus was stopped along the way or along the journey. He saw Zacchaeus up in a tree. You know, he seized moments. And sometimes life can be very fast paced. And I think if especially for this generation, we need to slow down and remember that God doesn't just come in grand moments. You can find God moments all along the way. If his eye is on the sparrow, then you know he watches over the rest of us. So small things are important to God.
Well, I've quoted this several times in interviews, and I can't remember who said it. One of these days I'm going to look it up so I can quote it properly. But somebody smart and famous said that God, that the divine is in the mundane.
Oh, absolutely. There's a story even in this in the book, and I'm dealing with David and how that he was assigned to mundaneness. But he was also anointed for greatness. And I think anybody that's really ever been great or will be great has got to pass the test of being ignored and being assigned to that which is seemingly mundane. But it is in those mundane moments and seasons that we learn so much. That actually keeps us as God begins to elevate us.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. I like the subtitle says how God uses the insignificant to create the extraordinary. When you talk about insignificant, help us understand what you mean by that, because in God's eyes, none of us are insignificant.
But you know, to us, we think it's just another moment. Oh, it's just another Monday.
Right.
It's just another Tuesday. But I think every now and then God will show us, and we'll see things that happen where we realize tomorrow is not promised. And there are loved ones that we would hold closer if we knew it was the last time we were going to hug them. Or there are things that we would say if we knew it was the last time we would ever speak to people. So it can look like it's an insignificant moment, but in reality, is any moment insignificant? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think that's where we go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
We take it for granted, and sometimes we live regretting our past or worrying about our future, and we miss the present.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. We do it all the time. People do it all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, I am too. I think I'm so guilty I wrote the book about it.
No, that's great.
But also I agree with what you're saying. Sometimes we get, especially the generation that we're living in today, we get so excited and so determined to know what's next. What's next? That's a phrase that's very popular today. What's next? But if we're not careful, we can get so consumed with what's next that we miss what's now.
What's now?
And it's only when you're faithful over a few things that God says, I will make you ruler over many. That seems like it's a small thing. But I think it's important to God because God says, if I can trust you with these two, then I can give you influence over these three. And then he begins to multiply what he's called us to do. But it's only as we're faithful.
Did you experience that? Is that how, because you're in a very respected position.
Yes, sir.
What was it in your life that you had to be faithful in small ways before you got to the visible way that we see now?
So many things. I had to be faithful at I was talking to your dad earlier, and I was telling him I lived with a preacher in me for 32 years that I didn't know was there. I was very quiet and very shy, and my husband is a big talker. So I was cool with that because he talked, and all I ever had to say was, yeah, that's right. Whatever he said is right. And I was okay with that because I had 3 children by the time I was 20. And so I realized that was my first ministry.
Yep.
And I was okay with that. But I realized that home was important. I realized that my marriage was important. I realized that my children having clean clothes to wear to work, not to work, but to school was important. And it wasn't until they were like 12 and 13 as they began to grow. I have a set of twins. As the twins were 12 and my oldest daughter was like 13 or so, God began to just extend my influence.
Yeah.
But I think had I missed that,
I would almost guarantee it.
you know,
That was your insignificant things in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And the things we think of that
we
as
think everybody does that. Everybody,
right.
but
I'm just a housewife
yes,
or just a right.
Exactly. But that was vital.
That's right.
Because now those 3 babies that I poured all of my attention into, and they soaked it up. They love God. They serve God. They're great mothers. They work in the church. They never had, at least that I know of, a real big wild streak.
Right.
You know,
No, us
that I know of.
Us pastors or preachers' kids can hide those.
Oh,
real
I'll tell you
well.
so. That's so true. But you know, it's like I'm grateful because that was my first real ministry.
Yeah.
And I think people, especially women in ministry, I think we need to know that if we have children and husbands and families, that's pleasing to God.
Absolutely.
When we make that our first
Absolutely.
ministry.
If that's what He
I had
gives
to be
you.
faithful over those few.
That's what He gave you.
That's exactly what He gave me, and I had to work that. And I learned so much in those moments that all I do now is just take the practical things that we went through, bring them over here,
Right.
put a scripture to them, and it helps people in the pews because they identify.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Books available. What's the website for your church if people want to go hear just more of what you
The website is tphnd.org. tphnd.org,
Okay.
and we're in Frisco, Texas.
Yeah.
The book is, you can get that by going to Sheryl Brady /moments.
Okay. Great. We'll put that on the screen so people can see.
That'd be
it.
great.
Cool. Thank you for coming by. Thank you
Thank
for sharing,
you.
and thank you for not missing this moment.
Amen. Thank you.